grew me from 300,000 to a million was really testing out different.
Yeah.
You will think, my song flopped, even though it wasn't the song that flopped or the song that's bad. It's
Today, I'd like to introduce to you guys 23-year-old house producer Jen, who's got over 3.8 million monthly listeners on Spotify. He's the author of the Independent Artist Blueprint, and he's helped generate over 500 million streams. He's from Austria, America, and Argentina, and I'm stoked to have him on the show today. What's up, dude?
Hey, Chris, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for joining us. So you've really helped me out a lot, man. I've read the Artist Blueprint. I watched a couple of your interviews, and you opened my eyes even more to what's possible for independent artists. And so I'd love you to maybe share a bit of your story of, just how you got started in music and started to just grow your streams.
Sure. First of all, super happy to hear that, man. Like, that really means a lot to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I started out like in high school, actually in middle school. I was just producing, downloaded FL Studio, really loved doing it, and it just quickly became a hobby of mine. Just
Yeah.
while playing video games, I was also starting to make music, and then that during the end of my high school, I kind of transitioned, and I was basically producing for fun. And I had another hobby, which was online marketing and e-commerce. In other words, I was doing drop shipping, and I really learned a lot about Instagram ads, building websites, and creating a brand, and yeah, the ins and outs of like starting a business, basically. And yeah, it was working well to the point where I like really didn't care about school anymore.
Yeah.
So then I
Yeah.
almost dropped out of high school. But yeah, in the last moment, I was like, okay, that's probably not a good decision.
Yeah.
So I pushed through with that, kind of pushed the business on the side, and yeah, I tried restarting it, and it just didn't really work out that well, and I didn't really find the spark again. And then while I was doing my civil service, which is like a 9-month period of service you have to do in Austria, either do have to do military or help the country out in terms of like immigration or working at elderly homes or kindergarten, stuff like that. And during that period, I found some YouTubers like yourself who under self-worth stuff talking about music marketing and
Yeah.
how you can use ads and stuff to promote yourself, and that you don't need a record label
Yeah.
to get your music out there to the people. And yeah, it was that click for me that like, what if I use the Instagram ads not to promote a product or a service, but my music, and see my music as the product.
Yeah.
And yeah, I started promoting my tracks, like putting some money behind it. In the beginning, it was like $100, $200 per release. And like, I just saw the numbers growing, and like saw the feedback, and saw that there's real people behind it.
What did
And
they
that
grow to from when you released music just by yourself, and where were your monthly listeners there? And then where did they go to when you just started doing the ads? Like how much did they jump? I'm just curious.
like I released, I think, 4 tracks that I just threw out there on Spotify
Yep.
without any promotion. I think they were getting maybe 2 streams a day,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
friends and stuff.
Yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
then as soon as I put like an actual campaign behind it, literally with my first EP that I promoted, I went, I think, to 4,000 monthly listeners in the first week.
Wow. See, that's what I'm talking about, dude. And a lot of artists don't realize this. Like when you just turn on ads, because like I shared a stat that like 80% of songs from artists on Spotify have less than like 100 monthly listeners, something super low. But it's
Yeah.
like you turn on ads and it's just like poof, right? So
Especially in the very beginning, like to
yeah,
get the ball rolling,
yeah,
like when you have nothing there, nobody knows about your music, it's such a powerful way,
yeah,
because you're not dependent on the TikTok algorithm or something
yeah,
to accept your content as worthy to be pushed out. It's
yeah,
you're paying Facebook or Meta a certain amount, and sure, it could be that your ad is not so good and the song doesn't hit so well with the audience, but
right.
at least you're getting what you're paying for. And if you do it in the right way, you can kind of test the waters with your ads and see like what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not every track that works well. Some tracks
No.
also for me, they flop, and like either on the song wise they don't do so well, or the ads are expensive. But
Yeah.
just for me doing this like for the last 3 years, it's just every once in a while you have a song where it just does do really, really well, and
Yeah.
you can see from the beginning on, and you just push a little harder there, and then yeah,
Yeah,
over
I love
time,
it.
as you build your catalog, stuff really started growing, and that's pretty much my story. Is like I tried doing university as well, but then I saw it really kind of taking off, or to a point where I was like, okay, I could actually make a living of this pretty
Yeah.
soon if it just grows a little further. So
So
then, yeah,
so so if you got to 10,000 monthly listeners pretty quick in the first week, what give me the story of to 100,000 and then
okay,
maybe 500,000 kind of things, just to give
sure,
people an idea.
yeah. So I got pretty quickly to like 4,000 monthly listeners,
Yeah,
and then after like I think 2 months or something, it grew maybe to 10 or 14.
yeah,
But I would say it took me quite some time, half a year or longer, with 5, 6 more releases to get to 50,000 monthly listeners.
okay,
And I feel like I was stuck at 80,000 for what felt like half a year, like it just wouldn't move.
yeah,
And that was also a point where I was like, maybe, okay, this is as far as ads will get you. To get to
right,
like a bigger level, you might need an editorial playlist
right,
exception, or like record labels or gigs or go viral on TikTok and stuff. So
yeah,
but yeah, I kept pushing, and it's also all of a sudden, like a few months after that, like a song that was a bit old already just started gradually growing and growing and growing. Um, so then I think it took me around a bit over a year to get to 100,000
okay. And were you
monthly
releasing
listeners.
like sounds like you're releasing a song every other month, maybe, or every couple months?
Yes,
Like,
4 to 6 weeks.
okay,
That's
4 to 6 weeks. Yeah,
that's what I say, and also industry kind of golden standard, because
yeah,
every 4 weeks is like when you take the most advantage of like the Spotify algorithm and
yeah,
like Release Radar and Discovery Weekly, which resets every 4 weeks. But not Release Radar, but you can only have your song so long in Release Radar. You can only have so many of your releases in your fans' Release Radar. So if
yeah,
you release every week, for example, you might be hindering your previous
yeah.
songs algorithmic push. So yeah, every 4 to 6 weeks. If it's a little longer, that's fine too. But yeah, at least a 4 week spacing.
And so in between those releases, you were just continuing to run ads. I know you're not
Yeah,
a big fan on organic content posting as much, but what were some of the things you were doing? Because like I know for me even like it's like man, I wish I could like it's like we get bored so easily. So it's like you've got to have a plan and be willing to push that song. So maybe share about what you were doing in between.
for sure. So basically, when I have my campaign, my release, I take like 2 weeks before the release to make sure everything is done. Like I send it in to Spotify at least 10 days, to DistroKid at least 10 days before, so it's
Yeah,
really in Spotify the right time.
yeah,
I'll make sure I have my ads prepared. I make sure I have some posts on organic. I still post it on Instagram that I'm releasing something, but I'm not posting 3 videos a day or a video a day on my song.
okay,
I mean, it's great if you can do that. It's nothing against
yeah,
organic. Like organic is great.
yeah,
Um, it's just that it takes a lot of time, and I feel like a lot of musicians don't really like being in front of the camera, me
yeah,
included.
yeah.
And so the best thing is if you can do both,
Hmm.
but it's just dangerous if you rely on organic, because even if you can get it to work well and you get a video viral, you need to get a video viral that also promotes your song, so people actually
Yeah,
go to your Spotify, which is
yeah,
already harder. And then to continue doing that with all your releases, if you want to release every 4 to 6 weeks, is, in my opinion, almost impossible unless you're very, very good uh, at your content and you have a fan
right.
base that comes back.
Yeah,
So, yeah, the best thing is you balance both things, because it's with my strategy, it's the most important thing is giving each release at least a minimum of potential that it deserves.
yeah,
And if you release songs and you, let's say, don't have paid advertising and you just focus on organic, it could be that your release now is one of your best songs and has huge potential, but literally because of the 4 or 5 videos that you made, they just didn't have a 99% retention rate and didn't compete
yeah,
against the monkey video,
yeah,
that they're just like going nowhere. And you
yeah.
will think, my song flopped, even though it wasn't the song that flopped or the song that's bad. It's just you weren't able to make an engaging enough content
Yeah.
piece.
Yeah, it's really
Um,
frustrating because like there's a lot of advice about there and about organic content and it does work. Like no doubt, like there's lots of success stories, with it. But like as far as there's the success stories, they're kind of like the lottery winners as well too. And I kind of look at it like, yes, make the organic content, but like don't get so like that shouldn't be like every single day spending hours. Like you're better to make, a couple pieces a week and then go work at a job or make money somewhere and then put ads behind that like you're talking about. Like otherwise you because like I got really excited about it for a while and my wife was like, look, you're an older man now. You're not a TikToker first of all. And then she's like, you have until this date. She gave me a deadline to try and figure it out. And to be honest, the viral content that I've had go viral hasn't been mine. It's been actually other people using it in their
Mm.
videos, which are sometimes songs 4 years old. So it's just like sometimes you just don't know, right? Like when a song is going to pop off. So you got to about 100,000 monthly listeners. What happened there exactly? Just you were stuck there, I think, and then I kind of cut you off there. What
Yeah,
happened? How did you break
no worries.
free the next level?
Yeah, I got stuck there, and then I released the track, and that doing better than the other ones. It's the same marketing campaign, everything. It's just the ads was a bit better at performing, and people were
Yeah,
saving a little more. And I always, I also like kept improving my ads and like my thing. Like what I do now is very different than what I did four
yes,
years ago. So
yes,
like I kept optimizing my strategy to the point to where it is now, is which is what I put in the blueprint, because it's really now, I think it's really something that I'm confident in sharing with people,
yeah.
and telling them that like that is a really good way to do it. But yeah, it grew from 100,000 to 300,000 within a few months. So it was literally, it took me over a year to get to 100,000, and then
Did
a
you
few months to
scale your
300,000.
budget though? Did you scale
A
your
little bit,
budget?
yeah. Let's say I'll add 50 or $100 to my releases. So
So,
the first five releases, $200. Then
okay,
after that, I put $300, like a few releases, and then as I saw the one release doing really well, I was like, okay, let me put 500 euro into it.
yeah,
And yeah, it is a lot of money, and it was for me at that point as well, because I was only getting some money from that silver service, a few hundred
yeah.
bucks a month. But yeah, it's
So
a
what's the
long
daily
term
what's
thing.
the daily budget then? What was your daily what did you where did your daily budget start and what did you scale to?
Yeah, so that's not exactly how I'd look at it, because for
Oh,
me
okay.
the daily spend really changes
Oh, okay.
drastically. I
Interesting.
personally spend my budget very front loaded. So if I have a release that I want to promote for 4 weeks, and I have €1,000 budget for simplicity case, I will spend around 300 on the first day.
Okay.
So literally around a third on day one, testing all kinds of different creatives and target audiences
Right.
and interest to really find the best combination as soon as possible, while also giving Spotify as much data right when the song comes out. And it's like those two things that I feel like, and that's nothing based on facts or something, that's just from my experience.
Right.
The algorithm takes a big look at your release compared to your last release, like first 24, 48 hours in the first week, which from what I can see, take or like have a much bigger impact on your long-term performance of
Mm-hmm.
the track
Mm-hmm.
than like if you were to release a track, promote a track that's 1 month old or something. It's really like the first bit when Spotify sees, okay, new release, how is it doing, who's listening to it. That's when the data gathering process is the most important, because that could lead every stream to turn into 30, 40 streams once the
Gotcha.
Spotify algorithm knows who your
Yeah.
listeners and then pushes it out to them. um, but yeah, to continue on the story, then I got stuck on 300,000 monthly listeners for also quite some time. I think even longer than half a year, maybe
Yeah.
three-quarters of a year. And I was like,
Stuck.
okay,
All the artists are like, oh, you were stuck at 300,000 monthly listeners. You know what I mean? But they're like, I wish I had 300,000 monthly listeners, but that's how you got to keep dreaming big, baby. Keep going. Keep going.
yes, sir. Yeah. And so I know, and I have to be honest, like I was already super grateful, like
Yeah.
love doing that. And when I have 300,000 monthly listeners, that's when I started to be able to live off my music.
Yeah.
So like I was getting around 1 million streams a month from that,
Yeah.
which for me in Vienna, Austria was enough to live off. It might not be in London or New York,
Right.
but for me it was good enough, and that was already the dream basically. Like that was already, I can live off my music,
Yeah.
doing it independently. That was the check. Um, but yeah, I wasn't growing a lot there, so I was like, okay, maybe that's as far as you can go being independent and
Right.
like without having music videos and this and that, So, but I continued doing it, and it took me, I think, after I was stuck there for a few months, I started growing again for another half a year or almost a year. I'm not exactly sure, but that took me to 1 million monthly listeners, and I
So
hit
what
that.
what were you doing there though? Were you like what was your ad budget on there? And maybe talk about a little bit about, were you still submitting songs to Submit Hub as well too? What, like, collaborations? Talk a little bit about anything that you were doing in there as well. Just
Yeah.
give some context.
So I was basically doing the same thing, just better. So what got me from 300,000 to 1 million monthly listeners was when I realized not to just have one ad creative.
Okay.
Until that point, I would have one ad creative and just test different interests. So I would spend a lot of my time making one cool video that I would then promote as an ad.
Right.
And for me, the shift was then, instead of making one cool video, I can make 10 to 20 like nice visually but very simple clips. Like I literally just take stock footage of a drone shot over the beach or
Yeah.
somebody running somewhere or something, put the lyrics over it, cover art on the drop or on the climax of the song, 15 to 30 seconds, and have one format but different creatives, like different clips.
You're testing
And
lots of
once
ads.
testing lots of ads, and like once I started doing that, I was able to get my cost per conversions way down and much quicker, like find something that really works well.
Like below
And
below 10 cents, below 15 cents, like what
I would say below 10 cents is like extremely good. I'm
yes.
talking 10% per conversion. So not cost per click, but somebody actually to end up on Spotify. So click
That's
on
right.
the ad, go through your landing page, like Toned In or Hyped It or Submit also has them now,
Right.
and end up on Spotify or iTunes or Apple Music, whatever streaming platforms you have there.
What
And
countries were you targeting?
so it's a bunch of countries, pretty much globally, but it's divided into two categories. There's tier one and tier two,
Okay.
and the difference between those countries are, first of all, in that list, it's all countries that where Spotify is actually available. There's no point of
Right,
marketing
right.
a country where Spotify is not available.
Yeah.
And then the tier one countries are countries that pay over a certain amount per stream. So not every stream pays the same amount.
Mm,
A stream from somebody listening from Switzerland or Canada or something will pay you more as an artist than somebody from India or Mexico and stuff.
yeah.
And that's just because the monthly subscription there is much cheaper.
Right. Right.
So it's calculated by pot in the country, basically.
Okay.
And yeah, there's advantages and disadvantages to targeting both, which is
Mhm.
mainly tier one, you're targeting the countries where most people would rather play at, like you want to play in the US and in Europe.
Yeah.
And so merge tickets too and get your audience there. And you get paid more per stream, but it's also much more expensive to target to. And then tier two is basically all of the tier one countries included, but also the ones that pay less, so like Brazil or Argentina,
Yeah.
South American countries. And I usually start with tier two countries, like the whole list, because
Okay.
it gives me a cheaper way to get enough data to see which creative does better than the other one.
Hmm.
And also, like I've seen that if I get a lot of streams in Brazil or Mexico or something, it can often trigger the algorithm to then push me out to the US and Europe later on.
Yeah.
So I would try testing out both. But once you have a really optimized campaign and you know which ad creative and interest is the best, you could duplicate that and try it out with only tier one countries because you already have it optimized. Now you can see if you can get more of an audience there.
That's what I did for I had a song, it's like 3 or 4 years old, and we ran a campaign. I started internationally. I had a little bit in the US as well too. And I scaled it, I'd say, like, it was getting 200 streams a day before I turned on ads. And then
Mhm.
I started ramping up the ads, 10 a day, 20, 30, 40. I think we got up to about 70 uh dollars Canadian a day, maybe 80, maybe 100. Let's just say, it doesn't matter anyway, between 70 and 100 bucks. And so the first month, it's like I'm really paying for all those streams and driving them to a playlist. But we got it up to about 2,000 streams a day on that song. But what was interesting is I think it was about a month and a half in, 2 months. All of a sudden, and once I hit the 2,000, I dialed back the budget, but the streams didn't stop because now all of a sudden I was getting all these streams from Discover Weekly and radio. So the algorithm had kicked in,
Yeah.
but I never got past 22,100 streams. And so here's a selfish question. What would you do or would you suggest? And I was targeting like Philippines, Brazil for like, I would say 70% of the budget was tier two and like maybe 10 to 20% was tier one. So like, I want to do this test and I'm curious if you've done this, like to go like how far could I maybe take it? You know what I mean? Cause I feel like $100 is really, it's not like a lot a day. Like for a lot of indie artists, that might seem a lot, but like there's labels, artists spending way more than that. So what would you suggest there?
Yeah, I mean, I personally look at the way of scaling the ads differently.
Yeah,
It's not like with an e-commerce business or something where you're trying to spend more and more and keep the
right,
same results. It's
right.
I kind of scale down. So as I said, I'll spend 30% on the budget on the first day
Interesting.
and then scale down. So basically I have 100 different combinations of
Yeah,
different ad creatives and interests. I keep the countries the same.
yeah,
Um, and basically I just cut them down as soon as I can. So I'll launch on midnight. I have my release. I launch, make sure everything is launched and ready. I'll go to sleep, and right in the morning I'm checking off, okay, which ones are not performing well,
yeah.
turn those off. Then I keep it for a few hours, check back again, see which ones are performing bad, tick them off. And they have to be performing a lot worse. So it's in the beginning it's hard to say, if an ad is getting 2 clicks or 2 conversions and one is getting one, it's too
Right.
early to say, okay, the one with the
Yeah,
one is worse than that one. But if you are at a point where this one has gotten 20 conversions and that one has gotten 4, it's
yeah,
pretty safe to say that that one's going to perform better in the long run. So
yeah.
then I kind of cut that stuff off. So say on this first day I spent 300. Day 2 I would spend maybe 200. Day 3 I would spend maybe 100 or 120 or something. 4 80, and then go down where I'm basically just spending $20 a day or
Interesting.
15 to $30 a day, and keep that running for around 4 weeks or five
Interesting.
weeks, and
Okay.
then focus on the next release,
Okay.
because that's kind of where your work has already been done with giving Spotify enough data to know who
Yeah.
the listener is,
Yeah.
and so you can leave that there, focus on your next track, and that could still grow while you're already focusing on the next one and doing the next one, and
Interesting.
it's
Okay.
a real like momentum game, I think.
Because it's not just
If
one song, right? Even though you're going to a
Yeah,
playlist, because like all my songs got a lift. But what's interesting is that ad, like the amount of social proof on that ad, and like people, my Shazams went through the roof. The searches on YouTube for that music video, insane. And so I'm still promoting it because it's also on the playlist that I'm a curator to. So I need to keep feeding the beast, right?
yeah.
Kind of thing. But that's interesting that so you think keep that going. This is what your advice to me would be: keep that going and just move on to a different song.
No, I mean, I usually turn them off then.
Oh,
I
you just
after
turned it
2 weeks
off.
I turn off the ads, or as soon as I reach the budget, I turn it off, and I make sure I have my next budget ready for the next song.
Interesting.
Unless I'm seeing extreme results. Like me personally, I released a song pretty much exactly a year ago, called "In the Dark." I really didn't
Yeah,
think anything of it.
yeah.
Like I even told my friends, like, "Hey, if this song like flops in terms of numbers or
46
something,
million streams right now. 46 million freaking streams.
absolutely insane." And I, yeah, didn't think anything of it. I
Yep.
filmed a video like outside of my room in Vienna of like cars going by in like a dark, cloudy day, kind of. Those ads, that and some stock footage that I found, where literally all I did was have a slow zoom out,
Yeah.
had like a 7 cent per conversion.
Crazy.
And so I already put more budget on that song than I usually do on it. yeah, was getting 20,000 streams a day, basically right from the beginning, which is already like, wow, like this is
Oh,
way better.
when the song came out, it just
When the
started.
song came out, first day, 20,000 streams with, I mean, I think I spent $400 or $500 on day one.
Yeah,
So on that track already, I was able to, I've always reinvested all my money. So whatever I made and
yeah,
had left over in a month, I made sure to put it back in.
yeah.
But I had, I think, 2,000 euro on budget for that track planned.
Crazy. I love it.
And yeah, I was seeing incredible results from the beginning, great feedback from people as well. So I was like, okay, let me keep that running. And I optimized normally, and I kept up down to I think $30 a day.
Okay.
And I've literally kept that running for an entire year. I haven't
Yeah,
touched it once. The song has started really well and just gone like this, like
crazy.
crazy,
Yeah,
to the point where I think it's reached its peak now, unless I try and revamp it somehow.
right.
But it was getting like 400,000 streams, between 300 and 400,000 streams a day.
Wow.
And yeah, that showed me again that it's the ones you least expect.
Yeah,
And it can take,
yeah,
it's not like it instantly started growing. It was doing really
yeah,
well, but kept
yeah,
steady.
yeah.
And after 4 or 5 months, it just started going up and up and up and up for almost
And
a year now.
and it's getting more streams than the algorithm is giving you more streams than you could possibly get, with
Yeah.
ads,
My streams are 90% or 95% algorithm.
Yeah,
Like it's,
yeah, yeah. That's same with some of my top songs. With, definitely not getting that. Like my top song in the last 24 hours, anyways, is about maybe 11,000 streams a day, and the other one's five,
mm,
four. Obviously it starts to go down, but like that's amazing how just like cool to know. Because I was going to ask you about that song because I saw that was the one that had the most streams.
yeah.
And so amazing. But I don't think people really heard that. I want them to know, I want to reemphasize that you had a budget, 2,000 euros. You're reinvesting all your money back into the song. And
In the end, I spent more money. The 2,000 euro I spent in the first month.
yeah,
And then I saw that more money's coming back. So I just kept it running at the $30 a day.
yeah,
So I spent around 1,000 a month on that song for a year. So that sounds a lot when you put it that way, but it
yeah,
was making me much more than that. So
yeah,
I was seeing, okay, this is a clear no-brainer, is a good investment.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and yeah, paid off well.
And it's risks, man. Like there's risks in this business, but like, now that's going to pay you for the rest of your life. That's an asset, and it's just incredible. Um, Dude, I love that. So yeah, so that's interesting. You made me really think about, moving on to different songs, keeping that running because like really like I think a strategy could be where it's just like, okay, let's just say you take 10 songs that are getting only 100, 200 a day, and you do a campaign for all those, and they're now getting 3,000 streams a day. Like that can be life changing, especially once you dial back ads.
Yeah. But what has to be said is that I would only do this with new releases.
Okay.
You can promote an old song already, but I have like usually you get more of a return on your investment when you do it in the beginning of the release, because that's usually you can then see the growth. It's harder to start, like to kick off the algorithm like that with a song that's already out and Spotify already has existing data on it.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. That makes sense. So on top of the ads, doing everything that we can to do a promote a song, one thing that you made me a believer on that was not originally part of my song launch checklist, and I was a bit of a hater, was Submit Hub and these playlist curators. So talk about that. And do you still use Submit Hub for your new releases and stuff in your
Yeah,
songs?
yeah, I do. I do. It's the only thing I use at the moment besides
Okay.
ads.
Yep.
Um, and the reason why I like SubmitHub is because there you're actually sending it to real people on your playlists. It's not
Yeah.
like these services that promise you a certain amount of streams and
No.
will get you in enough playlists to reach that thing. Like that usually can kill your algorithm and the data. Like it can
Yeah.
really mess stuff up. So definitely stay away from those. With SubmitHub, I'm not expecting huge results
No.
either, but it is a way where I'll put maybe 10% of my budget, and yeah, send it to good curators that have good playlists. Like it's only really worth sending it to the ones that are getting lots of engagement. And then SubmitHub, you can see every curator's playlist engagement, how many followers they have, but how many people actually listen to that on average.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and yeah, send it to a few people, because I also think it's really important to get playlist ads as many as possible in the beginning.
Yeah.
They don't have to be so huge, but if Spotify sees, okay, you've been added to more playlists from in the beginning, even if it's only 10 or something, or 5,
Hmm. Hmm.
like that's everything. In the beginning, every listener, every playlist matters.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and even now, like, I still love like sharing music or something. If I'm at a bar or something and like in a conversation, people ask me what I do, I say music, and I tell them, yo, you're Spotify, and I make sure they listen to it, because I feel like every person that might like it, or it's like you've met,
Yeah.
could end up telling them a friend or two friends, or hey, I met this guy at the bar and his music is actually pretty good, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then they go back to their country or whatever, and then they're like, it goes long ways, I think,
For
like
sure.
word of mouth in the beginning. But
For the Submit Hub, do you do
yeah,
the and I because I haven't done this yet. I'm going to do it, I think, on the next release. I'm curious if you've already done it, is where you submit the songs ahead of time to the curators so that the song gets added almost the day
yes,
of the song comes out.
100%. Yeah, very, very important. The real focus is you have to get as many streams as possible in the first 24 hours. And
Yeah.
it sounds very like I'm just focusing on the numbers, but that's really the important thing that will cause Spotify to give you a push long run. And like the higher your peak is in the beginning, in the first day, in the first week,
Hmm.
the healthier and longer your long tail off is going to be. There's often
Yeah.
years, 2 years until, or more than until your song completely dies, if even.
Yeah.
And that's really where you make your money. With SubmitHub, yeah, I send it to a few people, get some streams. I hope I send it in at least 4 days before, because
Okay.
a curator has 72 hours to accept the track or not.
Yeah.
And so you want to make sure that they have to go through your song before it's out. And you just send in your WAV or MP3. And
Yeah.
then once it's out, you upload, or you just insert the Spotify link, and they will automatically be updated for the curators and be added to those playlists right when the song comes
Yeah.
out.
Freaking incredible,
Same,
right?
yeah, super nice. And same with the ads. Actually, and this is more of a advanced trick. I wouldn't do this on your first campaign, meta ads campaign, but I usually have my ads running and I turn them off a few hours before the release, before it's even out, on a dead link, just so my ads all go through the approval phase and actually get launched and start spending some money, so that when the song comes out at midnight, there's ads already running to that song. So
Oh,
all I do is
interesting.
also replace the link, the dead link. I just replace
Oh,
it,
okay.
and then the ads will update much quicker than if you launch them
Okay.
from scratch.
I love that. One thing I've done is, and again, I learned this from you, from the interviews and everything, is because I already own playlists, right? When the song comes out, I just normally just add the song to the top of the near the top of the playlist so that the playlists that I've already created are now assets. And started,
Yep,
I start getting streams.
nice.
Um,
Yeah, absolutely. So that's another big thing. So that's how I release my singles. But then I also have my playlist as well. I'm also a curator on Submit
yeah,
and Playlist Push and a bunch of other platforms. And as you said, it's an amazing asset to have as an artist,
yeah,
because if you can promote a playlist, which I do through pretty much the same way as I do the singles, um, you can get enough people to listen to a playlist. You can become a curator and make money back from your playlist by just listening to music. It's not creating music, but it's 15 to 20 minutes of work, not really,
yeah,
listening to music, giving feedback.
yeah.
And that pays back. It pays me around $1,000 a month,
Okay,
which I put most of it back into the ads, promoting the
yeah,
playlist, so that they don't die out.
yeah,
There's constantly new people listening to it, and I've got half of my catalog in each of my playlists.
yeah,
I have a few playlists. It's important that your songs in your playlist actually match the playlist vibe,
yeah,
because you don't want to be promoting a playlist and have your song in there and have people skip your song. That's
yeah,
very bad data for Spotify. But the goal of that is, first of all, to have an asset where you can make money off, but also have your music in there. But really importantly is the data you give Spotify from your playlist is so valuable, because you're telling Spotify directly, look, 100 people today listen to my track, then this person's track, then this person's track, then this person's track, then my track. And the more of the repetition of listener behavior Spotify sees, the more it's able to identify this pattern, the more it's able to then show your music to those other artists' fans.
Yeah.
And I really think that Spotify, the algorithm and stuff, it's all AI and machine learning driven, but it's like a 3D map. That's how I envision it, of data about different genres. So you have rock here and hip hop here and EDM here and R&B and pop there. You then have the artists in each areas, and then you have songs in each areas. And the more data Spotify has about you as an artist and stuff, and the more congruent data it is. So it's not like random.
Yeah.
Um, it's really all the people listening to you in the last month also listened to this artist and also listened to that artist. The more it's able to identify where you belong, that's when it gets enough confidence to then push you out
Yeah.
to new fans in the algorithm. So that's another thing why I don't think normal too much of these playlist promotion, where like these services where you get a random playlist, because then you might get streams for as long as you're on that playlist, but Spotify sees, okay, somebody's listening to your track, and then they're listening to a rapper, and then they're listening to this and that, and like something that's not authentically curated but just paid for,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't
And
want
then
fake streams like that with
like
raw
no, and
art.
then so you're giving Spotify just misleading data. You really have to feed it stuff that it
Yeah.
knows who likes your music, and for that, the playlist is really powerful to have your own
Yeah.
ones, because you know best what music you also like listening to, you
Yeah.
know. And
Yeah.
then you put a combination of small and big artists, like just a healthy amount of both, and so yeah, you can then get into other artists, like people also listen to
Yeah,
section.
that is mine's changed actually for the good because I've started doing that and getting that association has been incredible. I think it's really dope, dude, that you put the full 1,000 back in and you probably spend more on top of that. So whatever you make back as a curator, you dump that in. Are you
Yeah.
spending on top of that as well? Is that like covering half the budget? Is that like
No, let's say I'm about I make between 700 and $1,000 a month from that, and I spend around $700 in ads. So I'm
cool?
not making my money there. But that
Yeah,
wasn't now, like, you can do it in a more lean approach and you can have better ads. I've had my same playlist ads for running for a year or almost two. So
yeah.
it's time
You
I
just
update
let it
them.
go. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's probably time I update them now.
yeah,
But yeah, those I do once. Same thing, just tested a bunch of different creatives, different
yeah,
songs as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
Um, and then find which works best, and then just have that running at $2, $3, $5 a day
yeah.
for the playlist.
Have you
And
made
yeah,
any relationships? Because like I've actually think I haven't collabed yet, but I've actually met some artists that are like I'm like, dang, dude, you're really talented. Like let's collab on something. And I'm noticing certain labels pitching and stuff. So it's a real opportunity to meet some other people too.
100%. I've actually had I was in at ADE, at Amsterdam Dance Event, like the other month, which
Oh,
is
cool.
like a hub where all kinds of people from the electronic music scene meet, and they have conferences and panels and parties and everything. Anyways, and I was there, and somebody is like, "Hey, you're Gent, right?" And I was like, "No way, somebody's recognizing." He's like, "Yeah, man, I love your playlists. You're helping me out so much. I've been
Oh,
sending you
cool.
my music into you in Submit Hub, and your playlist has really helped me grow." So he didn't recognize me from my music or something. It's just like he recognized me from the playlisting thingy,
Yeah, yeah,
um, which was absolutely crazy. But yeah, online, a bunch of people. And once you have playlists, you can do playlist trades. And every pretty much every playlist curator is also an artist, I feel like,
yeah.
or is at least working for artists.
Right.
So everyone has their tracks that they're trying to promote. And instead of paying your way into a playlist which shouldn't really go. You can just have a conversation with, or like text them, hey, are you done for a playlist trade? These are my tracks that I'm looking to promote. Send me yours, and if we have a fit, then I put your songs on my playlist, and he puts my songs in his playlist. And
Yeah.
that's a really good way to have playlist promotion
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Just do swaps.
without any cost.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, also yeah, labels and stuff like that also ask you like how much to for song entry and stuff. But I've never accepted any money
No.
for a guaranteed thing, because that's when you cross the line of Spotify's policies,
Yeah.
and you could get yourself banned.
Yeah. It's not worth it. It's not
Not
worth the
worth it.
small little money on there. So, dude, super inspiring, man. It's interesting. Like, I think you've worked smarter, not harder. Now looking at it more, it's not like you're releasing a song every week. It was more sparse, doing the ads. You were playing shows, I think, too, weren't you? Were you playing a bit of shows, or is that
Yeah, I
maybe
mean
like early?
shows. I was playing gigs. I was starting becoming a DJ in first bars and then clubs, and then I ended up becoming a resident DJ in some of the clubs in Vienna.
Okay.
Um, yeah, great fun for a while, but I wasn't really playing my own music. I was just like,
Yeah.
I was playing in bars and stuff, and also my music is more commercial and chill. So I
Yeah.
would throw in a song here and there, but um, yeah, I was
Yeah.
pretty much forced to play ABBA and Katy Perry
Okay. All
remixes.
right. All
So there came a
right.
point where I had enough.
You're like, yeah, I hear
It's
that.
Yeah. So then there was a point where I was like, okay, I can make enough money now from my actual music streams without the gigs. It was also like
Yeah.
it also helped me out from the money promoting my tracks. I
Yeah.
was DJing also to make the money so I could do that. Um, but yeah, once I was able to, I now moved to Barcelona.
And
And
I'm looking at your songs too, and I'm not seeing like I have to click on all of them, but like they're all like I'm not seeing a ton of collabs, at least on the first top three. Like
yeah,
that wasn't a
so
big
far I
call.
found
Well,
like
I'm not,
three collabs, and those are all with my friends, literally.
okay.
I've made a few songs with Paco, who's like
Yep.
a friend of mine since kindergarten, also like my roommate here.
Yep. Yep.
And Moses, another great friend of mine from Luxembourg. And then Suzu, another person. But that's about it with collabs. That's something I really want to look into now, especially now where have built this size of an audience. Like I think I can have more options with collabing with
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to do that. But up until now, I really like the flexibility of doing everything by myself.
Yeah.
I hate having to go back and forward a million times. Even
Yeah.
mixing and mastering, I
Yeah.
ended up doing myself up until now,
Okay.
because I know it could sound better and I'm not doing the best job. I like how it sounds, and the few times I have worked with mastering thingies, I felt like it took more time
Mm-hmm.
going back and forward
Mm-hmm.
5 times
Mm-hmm.
than just doing myself and being happy with 98% done.
Yeah.
Mm.
No, that's cool. So yeah, so collabs were a part of it, but not like you wouldn't say that would be like one of the main things that grew you to 1 million or 2 million.
No,
You wouldn't say
no.
that. Okay,
So what
interesting.
grew me from 300,000 to a million was really testing out different ad creatives and
Okay,
starting the playlists. I didn't have the playlists going from the beginning on. And I would
okay,
also tell people I would recommend the playlist strategy only once you have a catalog of at least 5 to 10 songs. If you
okay.
have one or two songs, like,
Yeah,
or generally, the more songs you have and the more songs you can throw in one playlist and it all fit together, the more effective this whole thing is going to be, because people who listen to the playlist are going to listen to more of your tracks.
yeah.
Um, but
Awesome.
yeah, it's really those two things. And then it was this April when I hit a million monthly listeners, and I was like, my wildest dream. I was like, what's going on? Like, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
And then from then, it's just In the Dark. I mean, In the Dark and another song was also doing pretty well, but most of it was In the Dark. And that song just was growing to the point where I was at a peak now at 4.6
Mm-hmm,
monthly listeners.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, now it's kind of dropping again, but that I'm releasing again. The last year, since this song was doing so well, and I started this um, company independent, where I started with an agency where I was doing the marketing for other people.
Yeah.
Um, I really took it as a challenge. It's like, you know what? Let me let that song breathe. It's growing. Everything is growing, doing well. I have a bit of a time window, and yeah, so I basically didn't release any track myself this year. I only had 2 collabs I was on.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, pretty crazy that exactly that year I grew
That's
like
wild,
the
man.
most that I've ever
Yeah.
thought
Yeah.
without even releasing. But yeah, my goal now is from now on, or I have a song coming out in 4 days now,
Okay.
and from then I want to go 100% back on a 4 to 6 week schedule,
Yeah.
and
Really.
continue doing it.
6 million you'll be at next time. Hopefully we
Mhm.
chat or whatever. We'll see where it's at, you know.
Hope
But
so,
dude,
yeah.
that's awesome, man. Honestly, your story's been really inspiring, man. You've inspired me, and I know tons and of other artists out there. So where can people find you and check out your artist blueprint, etc.?
Yeah. So my music is Gent, Jend. Instagram Gent Beats. And yeah, my agency and my blueprint you can find on Independent. So like independent, but with Gent.
Right. I'll
And
put a link
yeah,
below too.
yeah. And it's really a project that started with the agency that I just mentioned, is when a friend of mine asked if I could do the marketing for his track, because he's been working with labels and then really liked the results. And yeah, with his song it just did really well from the very beginning, and he went with a few tracks like from I think 10,000 to 200, 300,000 monthly listeners.
Yeah.
So his manager was just like, okay, I'm managing seven artists, do you want to do it for us, for them too?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, all right, sure, let's give it a go. And yeah, it worked for all of them, and it kind of spread. And then I was like, okay, all of a sudden we have a real agency, like real clients that like want to work with us. And it was
Yeah.
me and my friend Robin doing it. And yeah, over the last year that now developed into a full on team that we've
Cool.
built. um, and we do have an agency where we work with artists and managers, but I realized that it's a lot of work. We're sourcing the clips, editing this, doing all
Yeah.
that, and we have like 4 or 5 releases every week that we're
Yeah.
taking care of, and we don't want to fuck up anybody's release. Sorry
Yeah.
for my language. So we're, yeah, pretty selective there, and we decided to make this blueprint, which goes over exactly what we do as an agency and what I do as an artist and what Paco, my roommate, did for himself. Um, and yeah, that blueprint is, I call it blueprint. It's an ebook, but it's really not a book. It's more like a manual
Yeah.
that shows you exactly what I do with screenshots and the Facebook ads and stuff like that. And that comes with a access to our community, which is now, it just hit 800 people.
Oh, cool,
And
man.
that I'm actually even more proud of, because it's really a place where artists can go and get feedback on the music, ask questions if something goes wrong in their promotion or they don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
I've learned a bunch of stuff from this community, like about new tools there, new features
Yeah.
here, like new laws, like all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, we have calls every 2 weeks or so where we go over questions, and yeah, everyone who gets that will get access to the community. And yeah, in addition, something that I really noticed as well with artists and also for myself is like, to procrastinate is a big danger, and
Mm-hmm.
then to release two songs and then forget about it and then forget 6 months to release a song
Yeah.
happens really often, and that's really what kills you. It's, as I said, it's
Yeah.
really about momentum and
Yeah.
getting the ball rolling and keeping it going.
Yeah.
So we've also designed now with some of our clients and other artists like a productivity bundle. It's like a hub
Oh, cool.
for staying on track and staying motivated and keeping track of all your analytics in one place. So you can plan out your releases, make sure your expenses are right, make sure those are the resources you want to get. It's better explained on my website because it's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
lot now. But it's
Cool.
basically 10 tools that can help you as an independent artist. And yeah, it's designed to go with the blueprint,
Cool.
that you get the strategy and then get help on implementing the strategy.
Awesome, dude. Well, dude, I'll make sure I put the links below, guys. Definitely go check that out. Dude, thank you so much for being on the show today, man. I appreciate it. I look forward to connecting with you in the future and see where you're at with everything.